All right, folks, this is the video, updated video on the Moray Hydrofoil. As you remember, you've seen videos of this one. This is my original mod, and it came with the dual 50 cal die cast and the servo added. So when you turn the hydrofoil, the gun turned along with it, which was a pretty cool feature. It's awesome feature. I'm still gonna work with that. And I also added the machine guns. They're die cast. That added weight put about half a pound more on top of this deck. It turned out to be a little bit too heavy. I mean, you're talking about 8-9 ounces, and it did make a difference. It made a difference in where it sits in the water line. So once all those mods are concerned, the added weight brought the water line for the hydrofoil a little bit too low. And what do I mean by that? Let me show you real quick. So this is the new hydrofoil that I got. The bottom, the hole is, I believe that's how you say it. Pardon me if I'm getting these terms wrong. I'm not too nautical. But the hole itself, when I had the added weight, the original hydrofoil custom, the water line was probably around here. Probably sat right around there. So that was the nozzles here set a little bit too low. Initially I didn't think much of it, but watching it slug through the water, it looked like it wasn't getting too much power out of it. And another thing was that water was seeping through here. This is where the servo comes out, and the push rods for the servo that make these nozzles go left and right. This is where they come out of the hole. There is a rubber seal that allows it, that sticks around, and as it pushes back and forth, that rubber seal gives way. But during that motion, there's water that comes in. Of course, it's just a stopgap. Back in the days, for systems like this, doing a little research, they used to use a grease box, which is not a bad idea. I think the next time I'm gonna do that, incorporating a seal and a grease box inside. And what that is basically, in the inside, you just create a little pocket, and you put grease in there, a little rag or cotton with grease. You got to be careful because grease and cotton or some other material, other linen material, can be combustible. So do your research on that. But that prevents whatever water leaks in through here to stop right there at that the grease box. That's how they used to do it in the olden days. Another thing that they used to do in the olden days is use ballast weight. I believe boats nowadays have a water system ballast, so they have baffles inside the vehicle that the boat that brings in water depending on the water line, where the boat sits on the water line. So if you have 10 people in the boat, then it's gonna have a tendency to be deeper in the water line, or a deeper water line, and you don't want that because it creates more drag. So it would release water, and it would bring the water line back down to where it's optimal. If there's only one person in it, then it would have to take in more water because it's sitting too high, and then you lose stability. So it's kind of it's one of those sweet spots. You have to find a sweet spot. Same thing with this boat, and that was one of the lessons that I learned. So the water line is too high, then it keeps this push rod underneath the water, and whenever there's left and right turns, it's gonna take in water. It's inevitable, unless I put the grease box, which is gonna lessen that too. So what I wanted to do is bring the water line right here, which is halfway, the nozzle halfway out and halfway in the water. I thought that was the most optimal one, and I really wanted that rooster effect of the nozzles kicking out the water. I just thought it was cool. So I did go for that. That's why I switched the top deck. So the top deck, I was searching and searching for the top deck, something that was cheap, that I had to buy, pay too much considering it was going to be a mod. I came across the Hydrofoil G.I. Joe Night Force one. I always wanted this one, but it was always too expensive, and brand new and whatnot. It's too expensive for my like, and but I came across this one, and it was missing some pieces, and the gentleman that was selling it was like, hey, you know, it's not complete and it's missing pieces and some pieces are broken. I'm like, no worries, you know, what I want it for is mods, so it's gonna be perfect. And sure enough, got it for fairly cheap, so now I have a Night Force Hydrofoil. That's an RC, which is cool. This top deck, I did like I did my original one. Everything is sealed. Every little piece, every little access point within the top deck is sealed. Like this one is just like this one. I use rubber bands to try to maintain some sort of seal on this, and this is the only portion that is accessible. It's a good thing and a bad thing, because the electronics, I would have to basically rip this top deck apart in order for me to get to the electronics. So the electronics are pretty much sealed in place. That's not good in the long run. If they go bad, then I'm gonna have to tear it up. Probably just a little bit more in here for me to get access to them. It won't be that bad, but still, it's one of those things that you have to consider when you're building your own mod. So this is the battery compartment. It does have a magnet, so it can try to keep that closed as possible. It has rubber band seals. They're not the greatest seals. When I took it out for the water trials, it got fast. It is faster than it's faster, so it's the speed that I really wanted to have on this one. I think it's a scale speed to something that I think would be real. So I was very pleased with the outcome of this. I made a video, so if you have a chance, by all means, take a look at it. It's fun. So I did start with 7.4 battery, 7.4 volt 2-cell battery. I definitely would ask you to do some research. Unfortunately, I'm being a hypocrite here, because I sometimes I do research and it goes in one ear and out the other. I usually stick with 7.4 volts, and that's usually the voltage that any kind of electronics, the electric speed controller will be able to manage. 7.4 is manageable. Most of them are set up for that voltage, so I really don't worry about it. On this one though, 7.4 volts, it was it wasn't fast. It was just normal speed for an RC, but to me it felt a little bit slower. So what I did was I wanted to upgrade to a 3-cell 11.1 volt battery. I've seen videos where folks go from 2-cell to 3-cell, and it increases their speed to their vehicles, whether it be a boat or a car. It has something to do with the discharge rate and of course the voltage. I used to know stuff about that back in the days when I was a radio operator, but like I said, I hate electricity. I hate it when I get shocked. So it's not one of those things that I really want to visit again or play around too much. But do your research, because the danger of me going up to a 3-cell and an 11 volt is that my electric speed controller and my receiver board would be overwhelmed, and it could have fried the system. It could have easily destroyed all my electronics in there. Luckily it didn't. But if you do your research, some of those ECS's electric speed controllers, there's a way or a button to go ahead and program them to go ahead and receive the 3-cell batteries. I didn't have a problem with this one. I plugged it in, ran it. It was good. There was I didn't see any smoke. It didn't seem to miss a step as far as functionality is concerned, but the speed was increased. There was a good amount of extra push on this one. So yes, do your research. Keep that in mind when you're building these. I definitely suggest, considering you have 2 engines, to go with the 11 volt. It just gives it a lot more. You optimize those engines. I was going when I was building this, I was using a different platform as a baseline. I was using the PBR, I believe the patrol boat reconnaissance. I think it's called a PBR. It's a 1/18 scale. I'm not sure if you guys know about it, but it's out there. It has similar engine, similar hull design. That's what I based my hull design from. It's excuse that, I still got stuff from the pond that's still stuck in there. It's kind of like some seaweed or whatnot. The hull design of the hydrofoil, as you can see, is modified. There wasn't enough volume back here in order to keep it higher off the water. So this is the hull design that I went for, and I based it off of the PBR. It's a Vietnam era patrol boat and reconnaissance. It works well. It creates a beautiful wake in the back that I'm super impressed with. Those engines are similar to these as far as their design, but the engines, what I noticed is the engines on the PBR are upgraded. They're a lot better than the stock ones that I have in this one. So it wasn't fair for me to compare the speed of that one to this one. I think on my next one, I am going to upgrade those engines. I'm going to go with the 11 point volt and then calculate better how the hull is going to be sitting and where I want that water line. So what I'm going to do is take the weight of this. I got a straggler here. Check that out. So the weight of this, combine the weight of the battery that I intend along with the electronics, take a regular hull and then let it sit in there. So put all that weight on top using BBs or anything, and then see where the water line is at. And where the water line is at is where I'm gonna. So if the water line is here, then I'm gonna bring these engines where the nozzle is gonna be halfway in, halfway out. That way I could better calculate it, considering the weight that I have intended for this boat. You know how I was mentioning back in the days, boats, they use stones, just ginormous stones for them to balance that weight, because sometimes they had cargo, sometimes they didn't have cargo, so they can bring in stones and take out the stones. Well, on this one, you know, the weight is going to be set with as many figures as I want, as many mods as I want, so it's going to be set. That weight is going to be set. That's how I'm going to do mine. If you folks have a better way, by all means, but keep that water line in mind when you're installing these engines, because that's going to have a variance on your speed. So I think that's it for the most part. I still have to put up figures in there, which is hopefully not going to affect it, but with the 11.1 volt battery, that shouldn't be affecting it too much. I just need to find the windshields, put a driver, a gunner, and a co-pilot, and it's ready to go. I'll probably make some more videos. Oh yeah, and the guns. I'm gonna keep the guns original. I'm gonna maintain this one original. That way I don't add weight and disrupt that water line. And it's gonna be ready to go. After that, I have to build a trailer for it and a vehicle to be hauling it. I think it would look cool with this one. My end wrap, that would be kind of cool, but that trailer, I'm gonna have to build a trailer for it. That way it can get hauled around. We'll see. we'll see. Keep an eye out for my mods out there. If you have any questions, folks, feel free to shoot me a message on the YouTube channel. I'll try to answer it as best as I can to the best of my ability and try to help you out building your own. It's super fun. As you know, this project has been in play for, oh my gosh, maybe about 2 years, a year and a half. Been going at it for a while, off and on, of course. You know, I get frustrated. I start, working on different things. But either way, it's a work in progress. I get frustrated sometimes. I hit the wall sometimes, and I don't know what to do, and put it off to the side. So it's always a work in progress. Don't ever think that these things go smooth, or I have the secret. There's a lot of fails in here. There's a lot of trial and error that happens all around. Keep that in mind when you're working on your projects. Don't lose and don't despair when you're working on these. Don't lose hope that you're not gonna build them. You just gotta keep on pushing through and solving those problems, and you'll learn more as you go along. And don't forget to share those solutions. That way you could help the community, and we could all have fun and prosper from each other's mistakes. So all right, folks, I'm gonna stop my ranting here.